Deborah is a magical embodiment dream expert. She specializes in helping people interpret their dreams. She specializes in what you call dream image work. She's a professor by trade, and this is her other life. And what she is a spiritual advisor, light worker, dream coach, and a dream image processor. She's also a poet and an author of 6 books, and she was trained by a Jungian analyst in an interactive, intensive, active, imaginative process. Well, that's a lot of adjectives. Of dream image work. She teaches and facilitates dream image workshops and has held classes at the Duncan Center in Delray, Inner Wisdom, Goddess Store, Crystal Vision, Unitarian Church, Doors Bookstore, Braintree, all over the country. You can find her at intuitivegateways.com and on Facebook, Deborah DeNicola. She is going to be in room 13 all day until 5 o'clock, taking a break, and we'll be back from 7:30 to 9, and she will do another presentation at 8 o'clock to help answer any questions and probably open it up to some of your Q&A at that point, because I know she has a good presentation that's going to take up this whole time. And today she's also going to be giving away a 1-hour dream work session valued at $150, so you can have 1 hour with her privately. So throughout the day, if you want to have a free mini session, you can see her. Again, just ask door number 3, which is Alex or the Zoom engineer, and they're happy to let you in. As well as any other practitioners that are here today, you can see them for free for a mini session, and you can book a deeper session. So how long would you like your presentation to be? Because we have some time.
Well, I think I can make it in a half an hour, but it might be like 45.
We got flexibility. We got plenty of flexibility. I'm going with the flow. All right. You want 45? We got it.
Okay. So it's just about 3. So that's good. I'll keep checking.
Okay. And I'll time you. All right.
So do I just hit the share screen button?
You got it. And Vicky, is there any way that she can be on the screen at the same time as she presents?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let me just hit slideshow. So this is your magical embodied dream image work experience. And I talk a little bit about with the history of the discovery of the unconscious. Freud, of course, discovered the unconscious, but he connected it to repressed sexual problems. And when his follower came along, Carl Jung, he immediately saw it as a more spiritual connection to a bigger universe, one that is with us. I'm sorry, I wanted to share this quote from Jung because it's one of my favorite quotes. It's a little dense, but the dream is the small hidden door in the deepest, most intimate sanctum of the soul, which opens to the primeval cosmic night that was soul long before there was conscious ego, and will be soul far beyond what a conscious ego could reach. So think about that whole universe out there being soul, and your ego is just one little tiny tip of the iceberg. And so whatever we think we are in our dreams is often not really what the message is telling us. It will come in the ego alien images of the dream. So ego could be described as my fears and desires of who I think I am. And there's layers to the unconscious, and we all have a personal subconscious and a personal unconscious. And we all know how sometimes you have a Freudian slip, or you say something or feel something that you didn't really know that you knew, and it kind of pops out there and sometimes gets you in trouble. That's the personal unconscious. Often we dream just from that level. We also have a family unconscious. We grew up in a family. There were attitudes and judgments and strictures about who we were, and we carry that forward too. So sometimes we'll recognize, yes, that was part of the family dynamic, and here it is 25 years later, and I'm still doing it. Then there's an ethnic unconscious. You could say this is also racial. We're dealing with that a lot in the world right now. What they're calling the systemic racism of white people. And that may come up in the dream. You may have a dream of a dark person, not necessarily a Black American, but a dark person who a lot of women have fearful dreams about that. And it's really their own power that they're running from. So it's all part of us. We've probably all been all races and and ethnicities through the many lifetimes that we've had. Then there's a national unconscious, you know, what country you come from, what their beliefs are, democracy, capitalism, whatever it is, that can arise as well. And a species unconscious or an ancestral unconscious, which is the human mind. And beneath that is the collective unconscious. And this is what we call the archetypes. They show up throughout religions, throughout art, throughout literature, throughout history. There's certain images of what we call archetypes. And when you have an archetypal dream, it's what Jung called a big dream. It's telling you something very important. So some universal archetypes that we see over and over again are the circle, the cross, the star, nighttime, birds, fire, bodies of water, earth, sun, moon, rainbow, stones. These are symbols that you often are able to identify in your dreams that may not seem to be fairy tale-ish. They might be your everyday self, something you're aspiring to do, something you are making a decision about. So a mountain, a paradise, sea journeys, gods, goddesses, animals, which are usually our instincts. Of course, there's a villain in us, the shadow side, heroes, heroines, hags. I used to have a dream all the time of a homeless woman, and I had to own that part of me in order to release it. Babies, always a new idea, something that you're giving birth to. The trickster, which is often a surprising image. Let me just tell you a quick little trickster story. I used to own a bookstore in Portland, Maine, and it was a small bookstore. And this cab driver would come in all the time looking almost like a homeless man, and he would order these heavy-duty philosophical books, and I really couldn't quite put it together in my head who this guy was. And he began showing up in my dreams every time I wasn't seeing something the way it really was. I was seeing it, I was misunderstanding a situation. So I began to identify him. And the most wonderful thing is when you do follow your dreams for a long time, you understand that you have your own private mythology. I have a cousin who's a doctor who likes to brag a little bit about his possessions. And he comes up all the time when I have a money problem. So you start to see these archetypes have their modern identification. So those are some of the basic archetypes. Let me just get this. How did this get on the side here? Can't get to my controls. I have your face is down on the bottom and it's covering my control. How do I get it on the side? Anybody know?
What do you need?
I need to move the Zoom faces. They're covering my place where I click to move the thing.
Vicki, can you move give her the full screen, please?
can we cover up these people?
There you are.
Okay, I'm just going to hit remove because I saw that come up.
Vicky,
Oh,
Vicky,
no, that's not
can you
right.
see it? Vicky, give her the full screen.
Yes, it is full screen.
Can you see it, Deborah?
The problem is that the Zoom gallery is covering up the place where I click for moving to the next slide. So it's at the bottom. Can I put it on the side? I don't know how that got there.
Click from
You-
keyboard.
Do what?
Keyboard.
Keyboard, where's that?
Do what, Vicky? What's her view options? She got to do something in her gallery mode.
Yes, she wants to move to next slide. So click on your keyboard, the right button. Press the right button.
Click what on the keyboard?
Right button. That arrow keys.
I don't have that. I have a Mac and it doesn't have that.
What's in your way, Deborah? Are you seeing the people's pictures?
Okay, I just erased you all. I don't know how I did it, but I hope you're still there.
We're here.
Okay.
Yes, it's done.
All right, sorry, very sorry about that. There are a lot of dream points that I'd like to get across. I told you about the archetypes. Identification is about usually how the ego is identifying with the other things in the dream. Recall, I just want to tell you that, as Sheri said, if you tell yourself you're going to start remembering your dreams, and then you wake up and don't move, lie there for a minute, because there is an energetic dream body around you, and we all dream, so there may be something there. And if you can just get a snippet, it sometimes comes back in a clump. If you jump up quickly and go take a shower, you won't get it. They are so elusive. Day residue, that's when you say, oh, I dreamt of a giraffe last night because I saw it in the cover of a magazine in a store yesterday. So that's all that is. Well, the unconscious will take that image that you happen to notice, but it also is something else. And when you find out that, you see that there are layers of meaning. So don't dismiss anything from saying day residue. Oh, I just dreamt of that because I look this way. But it's telling you something. Fragments, of course, are the snippets. They're just little pieces of dreams, but sometimes they can contain quite a bit. Amplification is, I'll ask you questions that will, bring you into your day world. Where in your life are you feeling that right now? And we amplify it that way. Also, if we know something about mythology and we understand why that flying horse was there, we talk about that a little bit. Projection is, most of our dreams are about projection. There are feelings that we don't associate with ourselves, but we project onto other people and other images. So you might be mad at somebody and you don't really even know it, and you see that anger in another figure in your dream who your ego does not associate with. The trick is to try to get you to feel that. And that brings up resistance. A lot of us don't want to feel some of these feelings because they're scary or they're hurtful. I have had so many nightmares change into actually loving dreams once you get over that resistance, and you understand that projection onto that angry person, really that person is just asking for love, and it's something that's in your heart and you are afraid of your boss or something. And to get to that, we really try to work through the resistance. Okay, there's different types of dreams. As I said, archetypal are usually those larger than normal dreams, what Jung often called the big dream. Recurring, sometimes this is a complex that happened at a certain point in time and you haven't resolved it, and it will put you back in that space over and over. And once you do resolve it, you usually don't have that dream anymore. Incubated dreams are really fun to play with. Doesn't always seem to connect, but if you have a problem, for instance, you want to focus on, think about that problem, visualize it as you're going to sleep, and intend a dream. Whatever the dream is, which may seem to have nothing to do with the problem, we can apply it and find an answer or a solution, or at least a way of handling the problem. A confirming dream often validates us. I just worked with a woman who broke up with her boyfriend, and the dream was celebrating. She didn't necessarily feel that way, but it is a confirmation. You made the right choice, and that's always nice to know. People ask me about lucid dreaming all the time. That's when the dreamer is aware that they're dreaming. Some of us have those dreams every once in a while. And in a lucid dream, they can change the dream and make something else happen. Generally, that's not what I deal with. I deal with the stuff that's unconscious to make that conscious. Lucid dreaming is a whole nother thing, but I do get asked about it, so I listed it there. Some of the benefits of dream image work: you can identify blocks and habits and attitudes and beliefs that you really didn't know you had. Take this systemic racism, for instance. We've been searching for the past 2 months, I think, with that identification. What does that mean? Also, it can increase your awareness of your own potential. Sometimes there's a compensating dream. You're feeling sad and worthless about something or failure, and you'll have a great dream. And it's like the unconscious is saying, hey, it's not that bad. Look what you can do. And so to feel that and put that into your heart will actually help change that attitude. Also, we see how we misunderstand ourselves and others. Because everything in the dream is you. We actually open new neural pathways when we recognize our shadow side or some side that we don't identify with. And you can understand the flow from the image to the emotion. That's called a gestalt. And then you look at the image, you feel the emotion, and then you feel it, relate it to your body, relate it to some present day issue. And there's a whole sequence of aha moments that you can experience. So shift your energy bodies, change yourself, your energy field. The law of attraction, of course, we try to identify with what we are trying to manifest. And the thing is, dreams are free. Everybody has them. And the fact that we actually spend, I think if you live to be 80, you'll have spent 20 years dreaming. That's a kind of amazing fact. But wouldn't you want to know what's going on in those 20 years? So it's an important thing for spiritual growth. Some common dream symbols. Often there's some transportation going on. This is usually about the body. So trucks, buses, cars, boats, planes. How are you moving? If you're dreaming that there's 4 flat tires on your car, somewhere in your life you're feeling very stuck. So the dream will take very contemporary symbols and use them to bring that into consciousnly. Buildings, usually about the state of the mind, body or the ego state. Is it a shack or is it a castle? Is there too much furniture in the room? Are you in a ghetto? Is it a mansion? That all has to do with just different states of mind that you're feeling right now. The people in the dream, the other figures, do you know them? Who are they? I take 3 adjectives to describe them and then say, what part of that is me? See if they wear uniforms, if they have an occupation. if it's somebody that you know, or if it's just a dream figure, you still can get information from that. Remember, it's part of you. Animals are our instincts. Animals operate from instincts. For instance, cats are very independent, kind of doing their own thing, confident. Dogs, well, they always want to be patted on the head. Are they your best friend, or are they fierce? So what is the salient characteristic of the animal? What's the animal doing? And how do you feel that energy? Birds, often they are spiritual harbingers. They're bringing us information from the cosmic world. But it's different if it's an eagle, or if it's a crow, or if it's an albatross, or a wren, or a robin. So as you may not remember, you may say, well, birds were flying by. But in the imaginative recreation of the dream, you go with whatever you see. So if you're asked, well, look a little closer. What does the bird look like? Can you feel the power in the wings? And slowly, you're creating another sort of consciousness that isn't necessarily the delta sleep consciousness that you're dreaming in, and it's not your awake consciousness. It's something in between. It's the creative world, really, where things can be born. Insects, what's bugging you? Spiders, roaches, ants. Spiders also can be very symbolic of wisdom and power. Every animal, every figure has usually two poles to it, and we can try to identify which pole it is. Some other dream symbols: plant life, at something that's growing, something that's got roots, something that's moving. Is it alive, or is the bush all dead, and does it need trimming? Is it something you're neglecting? Flowers can have to do with blooming, different powers being mentioned or are coming into your playbook. Communication, we're constantly on these gadgets, right? So we have a lot of dreams with technology in them. Sometimes we aren't communicating right. We aren't telling somebody something. We need a certain message to come to us or to deliver to someone else. Clothing and jewelry usually have to do with what we call persona, who you're showing to the world, the way you wish to be seen. It's important that you look at your feet in a dream. Even if you didn't see them in the dream, we will see them in the imaginative recreation, because shoes, how you're walking, how you are getting along in life. Suits or gowns, hats. Hats are often about talents, different roles we're playing. Colors, every color has a negative pole and a positive pole. So you have purple has always been royalty and leadership. It can also be tawdry, maybe something that you don't identify with, but there's a flirtation there. Blue is, of course, holy and grace, having to do with the cosmos, but there's also a sad pole to blue. We get the blues. Red is passion, but it's also could be anger. You need to identify in the dream which one of it, which kind of pole you're at with these colors. Green is always fertility, which is very nice, but then we can be green with envy also. Yellow has to do with the sun and intellect and knowledge. On the other hand, it can be jaundiced and sort of sickly. Orange is often joy. I always think of the Hare Krishna people when I think of orange. Pink is somewhere between the white purity and the red love. It's also become a symbol for breast cancer awareness. And black, which can be mystery, and black contains all the colors, so it's very powerful, but it also we have an association to it often that it's evil or dark. It's something we don't understand. What happened here? We skipped. White, healing and purity, gray, confusion. And these are never, etched in stone. It's all got to be taken into the context of what you're seeing and doing in the dream. You can always look up numbers. Sometimes you get numbers in a dream, and it's really kind of interesting to see what the numbers represent. And which, with each number, like with each color, there is a pole to it. So you can always look up numerology online and check out a number that you're seeing in your dreams. When I was first doing a lot of analysis with a Jungian, I kept having the number 13 and 14 show up in my dream. And I never noticed anything except that kept showing up. So one day my analyst asked me, well, what happened when you were 13? And something right away arose, because that was the beginning of a very big complex that I had to work with. And the dreams were just not going to let me forget that by keep giving me that dream, that number. So it's hard to do your dream work by yourself, because it almost takes an outside person to do the questioning, because they're coming from a perspective that is not tied up with your ego. But if you must do it by yourself, here's some ideas. When you wake up and remember the dream, was it a good feeling or was it a negative feeling? What was the feeling in the dream? What was the mood of the dream? And then write the narrative. You can do it in shorthand. I just made up an example here. A mountain and a deer. I follow a woman on my left. We go to a lake. She gives me stones. One is red. So can you characterize that? Is it a fairy tale? Is it a mystery dream? Is it a mundane dream? Just give it a kind of characteristic. Then list anything that is clearly a symbol: a mountain, an animal, some water, a body of water, the stone. And then imaginatively close your eyes and try to go back and associate yourself with those images. Apply it to your current life. Where in my life do I think I am above others? What heights am I aspiring to? Those are both sort of mountain questions. What do I associate to the deer? Does the woman remind me of anyone? What do I feel holding the stone? What is my left side? We take a left path. And where is my passion heading? And then sum it up in one sentence. I am too high up. I must descend and commune with the feminine aspect of myself. Enter emotion, examine the keystone, find passion. That's just kind of a rough, made up example. Oh, here's that quote. This was supposed to be second. I don't know why it came out here, but I just repeated it. Our soul is all around us, and our ego is a very small little place where we're limited. So we want to look beyond the ego. Let me just, I think something. This is, I skipped this slide. It used to be that they thought we slept 4 to 6 hours a night in 90-minute cycles measured by rapid eye movement. Now the dreamers researchers are saying we dream all the time. We're dreaming during the day, except that our consciousness is focused on something in particular. And of course, sometimes, you kind of doze off during the day, or you daydream while you're driving. And there's a lot going on beneath the consciousness. And I love this quote, this statistic. If we live to be 80, we're going to have spent 20 years dreaming. I somehow jumped over that. Okay, I'm going to end this. Stopping the sharing. Can you see me now? Okay, can you hear me? I'm not sure where we are. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. So the universe is both inside us and outside us. It is a projection. I'm a Course in Miracle person. So the Course in Miracles, as we know, say that we're basically in a dream. This is an illusion. Humanity has elected to have these five senses and to project them collectively so that we can agree on something. And yet it's still a dream. That there's that famous quote by Chung Zhu. I can't pronounce his name. He's Chinese. But I dreamed I was a butterfly flitting around the sky. Then I awoke. Now I wonder, am I a man who dreamt of being a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly dreaming that I was a man? So humanity's dream is kind of a game. And if it is, what's the object of the game? Well, it's to undo negativity and to realize that it is an illusion, the negativity that we experience. And how do we go from there? Well, non-judgment, unconditional love. That's all what the great masters teach. And so we can do this by watching our thoughts. And dreams show us sometimes what we don't know that we're thinking, our attitudes, judgments, biases. And we can see different clusters of, after you watch your dreams for a while, that there's different themes that go in and out of them. Also, the dreams are not related to time at all. They often reckon back to the past, but they can also predict the future. Now, I had a dream to read a certain book. It was Henry James's Portrait of a Lady, a 500-page book with huge sentences. I read it and thought, well, that was a good story, but it has nothing to do with me. And I didn't really understand it, and I forgot about it. 3 years later, that scenario of that plot in that book played out in my life. The dream didn't care that it was in the future or in the past. It just wanted to get a message to me. I have lots of stories like that, and I've written a memoir. It's called The Future That Brought Her Here. And it's on Amazon. And throughout the memoir, I discuss many dreams. So if you're interested in that, it's also about my awakening, which I was an intellectual type. I was pulled kicking and screaming into the New Age world. Anyway, it's a memoir of my own awakening. I'm sure a lot of you have had similar awakenings, sometimes very dramatic. So let's see, we're right at a half hour, so can I answer any questions? Yes, Lao Tzu, that's the name of the man who dreamt he was a butterfly. Thank you for telling me that. Now, I don't see any questions in the chat, but I'm happy to take some questions about any particular dream images you might have had. Or not. Sometimes people don't like to share their dreams publicly because you never know what's going to come up. And I am here in room 13. If you want to have a private session, a short session for 15 minutes, or you can book a longer session with me. And I usually really like to spend a good half hour in the imaginative state and let that dream go from what you just thought it was this little thing, and it expands and expands into your ancestry, up to your job, into your future. It brings in your whole life, this one little snippet sometimes. So if no one has questions, thank
We
you.
have some questions. D. Grant says that she doesn't remember her dreams. What does that mean?
You're like a million other people. It just means that you're very aware of your conscious life. And once you give your dreams value by taking the time to write them down and to try to remember them, the unconscious responds. You start remembering more. So I usually say, make a little ritual, light a candle before you go to bed, have your pen and paper on your night table, and intend to remember. And then when you wake up, try to give it a little time before you jump out of bed. It may not happen right away, but eventually you start remembering. And I go in and out of periods where I don't remember for a while. When I was in analysis where I was actually paying somebody to help me with my dreams, they just came so much I couldn't stop them. I'd have 3 or 4 a night. And so what I did was I had a little tape recorder. Now you can use your phone. You don't even have to open your eyes. If you don't have to open your eyes, you're much more likely to remember. So writing down is kind of hard because, you know, you want to open your eyes. So since we all have these phones now, I would recommend recording it. And you get a lot more details when you record it. I remember once I recorded over some of my son's songs, and he and his friends had a really good laugh about it.
She's asking, do we dream every night?
Yes, several times in cycles. And often if you do remember well, sometimes I would have 3 dreams a night and they would all be different. But when I put them all together and worked with somebody, I realized it was the same theme in a different voice. So I think of dreams as like a hologram. A symbol in the dream can contain the whole dream. And every part sort of has a whole attached to it. And I also think of Jung's archetypes a lot. And I once dreamt of a little gnome running around my room. And all I knew was his name was Odin. I didn't have any idea what that meant. This was before the internet, but I did go to look it up in a couple of places. And I found out that Odin was a Norse mythological figure that hung upside down, like the hanging man in tarot. So it's seeing from a different perspective. That's how the collective unconscious can come in. I didn't even know that I knew that name. So intend to remember, do the little ritual, and you might start being bombarded with dreams.
I have some 2 frozen lobster tails in the freezer that I've been wanting to cook. And in my dream, I was not eating the lobster tail, but I was cooking it. That's all I could remember, that I was preparing the lobster tails for broiling.
And you were preparing them for broiling. Okay. So were you putting in other ingredients? Sometimes you make...
No. Just plain.
Well, I would want to know what your associations are to lobster. You know, I lived in Maine, so lobster
Money.
meant a lot to me.
Money. Lobster is expensive.
Yes, it's expensive. It's considered a delicacy, and that would be a good area to look at. Are you having any financial issues, or is it a place where you're changing your attitude towards money? If you're preparing it and taking the time, and we would try to feel what it's like, making this preparation, getting ready to broil. So you're getting ready to mix a lot of ingredients. Maybe you're taking on some new projects that are going to bring you money. You would want to just embody it and try to feel the feelings. And then I would ask you, so when you're doing this, when you're adding the salt and pepper, what does that feel like? And sometimes there's just a little aha moment of, well, you know, I'm really looking forward to giving this wedding dinner or something. Something might just connect that way. But that's why it's hard to say, and I don't like to say, oh, I dreamt of my teeth falling out, so that means I don't have any money. I don't like dream dictionaries because they limit that. You really need to be in the imaginative state to get at what it's really saying to you. But on an associative level, fish are also, fish have to do with sexuality in a general way. They have to do with the body. And what would it be like to be a lobster? How do lobsters move? Are you worried about the ocean? There could be a lot of different ways to look at that and explore it. But what I'm saying is when you close your eyes and you spend some time there, you start to see things and say things, and slowly a picture kind of comes out of it. And usually you would discover the meaning, not me. I'm just going to ask the questions, and then you make the connections, and I don't even have to know what it means to you in order for you to understand it. Okay, there's another question here. Do we dream every night? Yes. I think I answered that. Yes, you do dream every night.
If anybody would like to come on and speak with her directly, we still got 5 more minutes. So you don't have to answer through the chat if you want. You can unmute yourself if you want to come on camera. Anybody want to share? You can keep hiding your face, and you could just speak if you want. Just unmute yourself. It's fine.
I should say it's best to work on a dream when it's been a recent dream, because the issues in your present life will be reflected. If it's a really old dream, but sometimes you had one powerful dream when you were 7 years old, and you really want to find out more about that. It takes a little more effort, but you can get to it.
Can you speak to the phenomena of recurring dreams? What does that mean?
Yes, I mentioned that slightly. It's usually, there's some kind of a complex there. And by complex, I don't mean anything really negative. I mean, it's a cluster of feelings around a certain images. Often recurring dreams will take place in a childhood home, or a place that goes back in your life. And why are they recurring? Well, you still haven't, something triggered that dream to happen tonight. So in fact, I just worked with somebody who had a recurring dream, and I told her, the next time you have it, if you have it again, write down what happened during the day, because something triggered that. And it could be that there's just something you're not recognizing about yourself in the moment, or it could go back to childhood, and that's when that complex began, and it was something that stuck with you. Unfortunately, the negative things seem to stick with us because they awaken us a lot more, and it's as if it's wanting to be healed. So that's kind of what I can say about that. Thank you.
What does yellow flowers mean? When you see somebody picking yellow flowers. And I also saw, I was coming out and I saw like a mountain, and there was a bunch of people on the mountain. And then there was somebody picking flowers on the side of the mountain. And then when I was walking to everybody, and then I turned around, I noticed my pants weren't on. I was just in my underwear.
Those kind of dreams, that being naked at school dream, is always usually about some anxiety that is going on in your life. And are you prepared enough? You know, it could be, if that's a recent dream, just all of this stuff that you're orchestrating right now. Am I going to be right? And picking flowers, generally a very lovely image. I would have to ask about that person who was picking the flowers, and we would move into that body and see what attitude it had towards picking the flowers. Yellow, again, having a kind of happy connotation. It's a light color. It has to do with knowledge and understanding. In this case, I wouldn't say that it was the other pole of yellow, which is sickness. And picking the flowers one at a time. So is this Sheri? Is this a recent dream?
Yes, this happened a couple of days ago.
I think it's this whole thing that you're doing, this whole virtual fair. You're picking things, you're putting things together. It's beautiful material. It's going to bloom. And then again, make sure you have your pants on. So the little worries about it, and certainly.
Just like you brought it in and plopped it, left it here, and everything went crazy.
Say that again. I didn't hear the first part.
What, Donna? Who said that?
Someone just said something went crazy.
I don't know. Somebody mistakenly came on.
Oh.
So by me not having my pants on was, I thought it was like me not paying attention, or me being too anxious, and I kind of forgot my pants and I'm moving too fast.
It's the fear of that. And that's a normal fear every time we start a new project or adventure or whatever, that, is it going to work? That's a very common question. And it's good to feel the fear and then go back to picking the flowers and visualize yourself with your pants on, and just turn it into something that you're conscious of. Yeah. So when I'm really getting anxious on, Thursday or Friday, is everything going to work together? Is the technology going to work? Say yes. So that's what that is. That's I'm just having a normal fear about it, and you don't need to focus on it as much. It's something that you're doing your best, period. And pick that bouquet and put it in the middle of the table.
Is it about being maybe a little bit more selective in picking the bouquet?
It would depend on, we really have to get into the feeling of bending over, picking the flower, what's happening, and things happen spontaneously in the imagination. And sometimes even another figure comes in, and the light changes, or you have to slow it down and feel it in order to get those kind of nuances. Do you need to be more selective? If that's a thought that you had in the back of your head, try it out with that image. Does that feel right? Or are you carefully selecting? You want the best looking flowers, so I would think that, yeah, that it has to do with all that. And I wouldn't want to say, you need to do this or you need to do that. I think it's just it's a snapshot of the way you're feeling, all the different feelings around the project.
Oh, there's my alarm. For someone who didn't dream, and you just after talking with you, I started remembering. So, interesting. So I'm glad that I got to share that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. And I'll be in room 13, also a number with the different poles to it. It's actually the number they projected onto witches in the old days, but it's also because it's very sacred. Yeah, I'll be there, and anyone who wants to come in, come visit me. Thank you.
And you're going to be back later at 8 o'clock, and you can answer some more questions. And now that you guys have time to contemplate this, think about your questions that you'd like to ask her. Unless you want to go deeper and give us another presentation, you can do that as well. Part 2.
Yeah, we might be able to work with somebody's dream.
Yeah, we could do some processing. That would be cool, just like you just did with me. So while, if you would like to give away your door prize, we have that guests that would love to win a session with you. So I want you to write down a number, whether it's 0 to 100 or 500 or 1,000, whatever you want, and we can have everybody put in the chat their number. If you want to win a session with her, it'll be the closest number to it. Any guests want to win a session with her? Is there any guests in the room that want to participate? Who's here? We've got Leslie, Alicia, Anthony, Char, Claudia, Coco, Christina, Leslie. Anybody? Okay, we got it. We got a bid. We got an offer.
Alyssa and Christina.
Okay, we still got them coming in. Claudia, Leslie, Anthony, if you guys want to make a bid, just put in the chat.
They can, win the dream session and wait until they've had a dream and then call me. It can be something in the future.
Yeah, it's applicable anytime. I'll make sure that they have your information or you have their information and they could redeem it. So what is your closest number, Deborah?
17.
17. So we got Alicia McBride, number 21.
Great.
Alicia is a winner.
So you'll give me her email or she'll...
Yep. And her number.
Okay. I look forward to working with you, Elisa.
So Deborah's available right now in her room, number 13, if you want to go have a mini session. She's here until 8 o'clock, and you should probably take a break between, you are taking a break at some point at 5:30, and you're coming back, right?
From 5 to 5:30, or 5 to, no, it's 5 to 7.
Let me see what I had you down for, Deborah. 5 to 7. You'll be back at 7 or 7:30?
7.
7 o'clock? Okay. So we have Deborah here for another hour and 15 minutes, and then she'll be back again at 7 o'clock if you want to have a little mini with her. Please let us know. All you have to do is write in the chat that who you want to see, or send a message to Alex in room number 3 or to the Zoom engineer, and they can place you in the room.
Thank you, Sheri, for this
Welcome.
opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah.